Safety Division Department. Along with me, I have my Deputy Anthony Amoroso, and NYPD leadership, Inspector Gorman from the 114 Precinct, and his captain, Captain Guzman. It's good that the community knows that we are in a partnership, that we work together, and especially with the holiday season coming up, and that you will know that they will be here to keep this island safe. I'll go over a few things, and then Inspector Gorman will come up, and we will begin to have our meeting today. I'll give you, the audience, a chance to ask us any question and go over anything that is on the mind of the community. At our last meeting, there were two issues that I had to address. One, we had a resident who spoke about packages being stolen in buildings. As soon as we left the meeting, she lives in the CNC building. I got in touch with the CNC management and the security, and we came up with a flyer that the building's managers are putting out so that all of the residents can help out with this issue of stolen packages. I know that it does exist, that it does happen. I was talking to my sister just the other day, and she had a package stolen. She called me up, but what she did was she called up Amazon and they replaced it for her. I told her, I said, one of the best things to do is to call up and make a report with the police so that they have a record, so that they can investigate, so that we can get the people who are doing this. So we do have an informational flyer that is going around that for all the residents, because getting your package, getting it replaced is a good thing, but we do want to catch the people who are perpetrating these crimes and put an end to it in that manner. Second thing that was very important on the community's mind was the parking. And the parking has been my issue since the day that I got here. But one of the things that we had to do, we give out a number of summonses in the month of October. We gave out 440 parking summonses, just so that it could free up parking, so that the people who from the community can park, as well as people who are visiting. So in that month of October, we gave out 440 summonses, but this is what we also did. We are towing cars for the people who are continuing to violate parking regulations. In October, we towed 23 cars. And so far, as of the 20th of November, we wrote another 385 summonses, and we towed 8 cars so far this month. So we are working towards getting the parking issues under control here and making sure that the residents have a place to park. And as for our crime stats, I like to talk about October and continue on with November, since we are in November and most of the month is already gone. In October, we had 1 grand larceny auto. The car was stolen from the motorgate. The person whose car was stolen, she didn't realize that her car was stolen, and she made the report 4 days later. That her car was actually recovered in Manhattan by the NYPD, and she was able to get back her vehicle. We also had an assault in the month of October, and continue even to November. The assaults that we have generally, and I stand up here and I mentioned this a number of times, are these domestic violence issues. Myself, NYPD, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, we take this very seriously, and we are trying to keep this under control. NYPD has a directive that if the aggressor in these domestic violence will be arrested, and that's what we have. It's a no tolerance. That we will make arrests on these domestic violence. In the month of November, again, we had 2 domestic violence incidents, and 1 arrest was made. And then we had a robbery in November, where we had a home invasion, but it was involving a juvenile, and he was arrested very quickly with the help. NYPD arrested him. PSC was able to provide video footage. And we have a complainant who's involved with this arrest, and we are trying to, come to a better working with the juveniles on this island and the young people. There was an incident where I was notified or I was asked if we heard of an incident of shots fired on at 30 River Road. There was no call for shots fired. But one of the good things that happened a few years ago, NYPD, there was an incident where there was shots fired across the river, and they came out because it was a serious incident, and they put the shot spotter technology around our island. So they are able to respond very quickly if there are any incident of shots fired. They know immediately, and we try to make sure that everyone knows that this is safe as we can be with that technology, and we go all out and to make sure that all of the residents are safe on this island. One other thing that we get involved with, not only with our domestic violence incidents, we have a number of calls for ADA cases where they involve mental health issues. Again, working with NYPD, they're tremendous in their response. Anytime that we have a call of an ADA case, of a person who needs medical attention, they are here. They respond as fast as possible because it is a serious condition on the island that we will keep a lid on. And so for our crime, like I said, very low, but one of the things that we do talk about, and I talked this over with the commanding officer of the 114, is even though our crime is low, our number one goal and our main issue is to make sure that you, not only that you know it, but know that we are here and that we are responsive to any issues that you feel that the need that your safety is compromised. One of the things where we did have a problem at was down at the Riverwalk area, because we have these pedal larceny issues, and the pedal larcenies actually stem from a number of people coming from the train station. They walk into Duane Reade, and then they take very low value articles from Duane Reade and go back into the subway. We've had that. We probably in this year we've had over 100, and we are addressing that. Duane Reade is actually stepping up and helping us address it. They had a security guard posted at the location, and we are taking this as a serious incident, and we will continue to do this. I'll turn this over to Inspector Gorman, and he'll talk a little bit about our youth coordination with the schools, I think, and some more about our crime.
So first and foremost, I want to thank Chief Brown and everybody here at Roosevelt Island for the cooperation and the friendship we've built since I've been here in the 114th precinct for about a year and a half now. Like the Chief said, the crime, the overall major crime here on the island is very low, and that is fantastic. Like you said, we had a couple of domestic violence assaults in the last month, and I'm going to talk to that. We also had the grand loss of the auto. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. What I'm going to do, because the major crime is so low here on the island itself, I'm going to talk a little more about the 114, and the whole precinct, because you're not just residents of Roosevelt Island, you're residents of New York City. So I want to also let you know what's going on around the area. So with the domestic violence, I will tell you in the 114th precinct, one of the large increases in crime that we're seeing is in felonious assaults, and a lot of those are domestic related, right? Very similar to that, if you look at the CompStat sheet, you're going to see an increase in rapes during the year. Once again, these are incidents that are relationships are involved. Right? These are not stranger incidents. There are domestic incidents or acquaintance incidents. And the reason I bring that up is because it's very important for us whether it's a domestic assault situation or a sexual assault situation, to make sure that we're reaching out to the survivors of those incidents and trying to get ahead of those incidents so that they don't result in physical altercations or, God forbid, a sexual assault. So what I'm asking you today to help us with is getting people that you know that are maybe involved in bad relationships that may be turning in the wrong direction, right? Having a relationship they're finding a hard time getting out of, bringing them to our attention or some of the other resources that we have. So in the precinct itself, we have the domestic violence unit, right? There is a sergeant and 5 officers that are specifically dedicated to dealing with these types of incidents, but not only the criminal prosecution of these incidents, but getting those survivors to resources that they may need. Right? They partner very closely with what we call our CVAPs, our Crime Victim Advocate Program. Right? They're from Safe Horizon. They're civilians. They're not law enforcement. Their sole reason for being there is to make sure that we get survivors to resources that they need. Right? And a lot of that we want to get done, all of it we want to get done before there's a criminal act or something that's going to have a lasting effect on that person. Right? If we can get ahead of it when relationship starts to go in the wrong direction or they feel uncomfortable, help them through that situation, we much prefer that. So if you know anybody who's in a situation like that, please let us know. Right? You can call Domestic Violence anonymously. We can give you that number and give us an opportunity to reach out to those people so that we can avoid that. Getting to the GLAs, the grand loss of the autos, the auto thefts, we did have 1 on the island, but overall in the city and in Queens North, we had seen a spike in that last year, and we see a slight spike, a bit of a spike in it again this year. I want to give you a couple of the trends that are going on so that you can protect yourself. One of the things we saw last year, and it's continuing at a much lower rate, thank God this year, is thefts of Honda CRVs. Those vehicles were stolen at a very high rate last year, and we continue to see them stolen this year, but at a slightly lower rate. If you have a vehicle like that, I'm going to go back to what we've been doing to help prevent some of these thefts, but just one vehicle you want to be aware of. The other vehicles, we saw a spike in thefts for the Hondas and the Kias. Some of you may have heard this on the news. There was something called the Hyundai and Kia Challenge that was out on social media, and unfortunately we had basically kids teaching kids how to steal cars on social media. And Hondas and Kias were targets of those videos. We've been doing a lot to try to help prevent those, not only by getting information out, but the police department has been doing events where we've been handing out wheel locks, like the old steering wheel locks you may have used back in the 80s and 90s, right? We've been giving those out, and we've also been directing people to Kia and Hyundai who are doing some retrofitting of the older vehicles, the pre-2021 vehicles, to make them more difficult to steal. I'm not going to get into exactly how it works because I don't want to spread that message. You can find that online, I hope you don't, but if you do have one of those vehicles, I would advise that you take that step, either go to the dealer or come to us. We don't have an event set up right now, but we have had a couple of them already in Queens. So to do that, and we'll try to help you get to the next event if you give us your information. The other trend with vehicles has been catalytic converter thefts, and I'm sure many of you have heard about this. We have been doing catalytic converter etching, where we put a couple of different identifying marks on the catalytic converter that will help. One, which is an overt mark, which they'll see that it's registered with the NYPD. We hope will prevent people from taking that catalytic converter when they see that, when they go in their car and they see our symbol there. And then we have more covert things. If they do steal that, there are things on there that they won't even know are there, and then we can track that back to the owner if we do recover them. All right, so if you're interested in doing that, we can also, our NCOs can connect to that there today as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from GLAs. Just overall, what I've been saying in a lot of the community meetings, what's old is new again, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the criminals have caught up to the technology. So when we've come, with the alarms and with you're clicking yourself into a car instead of turning a key, there are ways, you can find a lot of the stuff on the internet, I hope you won't, like I said, but for them to clone things and get into your vehicle in new ways. So, we said the steering wheel locks, it's another step to protect your vehicle, right? It's just one more obstacle, and hopefully, you know, they decide I'm not gonna try to steal this vehicle now because I don't have the tools I need, I don't have the time I need to get through that. All right, and whatever you can do to make that a little bit harder and prevent yourself from being a victim. So, any of those things you can think of that you used 20 years ago, maybe a good time to try to start using those again to protect the vehicle. The juvenile stuff that the chief had mentioned about the, you know, we did have a very bad juvenile crime. There was a very quick arrest made on that by my officers, and we couldn't have done that without the assistance of, you know, the Roosevelt Island Public Safety and the incredible video system that you have here. That was a big part of that arrest. I'd say two things. One, the incredible partnership we have, and two, video surveillance is tremendous help for us in almost every investigation. So if you're aware of anywhere, any building, any business, either here on the island or anywhere else, that is in need of that type of technology, our NCOs are here, our crime prevention officers are there, back at the precinct, we can help you getting that. Give me 1 second, okay? And we can help you on getting those types of systems into your buildings or to your business. Right? We also do, the crime prevention officers do something that's called a crime prevention survey, where they'll come to a business and they'll actually go through the business and give you tips on how to better secure your property. So if that's something you'd like to get done, you know, the crime prevention officers will do that. And I want to just introduce a few people, so you can talk to them after the meeting and during the meeting if you have specific questions. So my new executive officer, Captain Guzman, is here with me. He's been here about a month and a half now. About a month and a half, so he's newly assigned to the 114 precinct, but very familiar with Queens North in general. He was with the Queens North Special Units as a lieutenant. He's newly promoted, and we're very happy to have him here. In addition, we have our neighborhood coordination officers in the back, with Sergeant Gomez and Sergeant Spencer here with our youth coordination officers. And I'm going to ask them to speak in a second because, as the chief said, we've been trying to make a lot of strides in our outreach to the youth on Roosevelt Island. And one of the things we've done is improve the relationship with the schools here, with the youth officers making more regular meetings with the school staff and trying to, you know, hear their concerns so we can be out here a little more than we were in the past. So I'm gonna let them speak about that real quick. Sergeant Spencer, you just want to talk real quick about the meetings with the schools, if you can? And then I'll take questions. No, just the meetings with the schools.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Spencer. I'm the YCO sergeant. So every Monday we have meeting with the principals from all over. The principals in the 114 precinct, and we have meetings about anything that's going on in the schools. You guys can hear me?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not really at public speaking. So I'm the YCO sergeant. My name is Sergeant Spencer. So anything dealing with juvenile and youth, I usually deal with it, and I have my YCO officers. Officer Rodriguez over there. So usually when we hear about issues within Roosevelt Island, I have my cops come in at Roosevelt Island. We do 75 directives at different areas where the students hang out. They hang out like at the parks, the schools, the libraries, and we try to interact with the students and offer them any assistance that they need and programs.
So we're just, you know, the sergeant said every Monday we have myself and my youth team, we have a meeting with every principal in the area of the 114 precinct. And that includes now the schools on Roosevelt Island. And, you know, we've been asked to have a more regular meeting. So we try to do at least once a month to twice a month, every 2 weeks, meet with the schools here on the island and get some of their concerns about what's going on with the youth here. So we can take any suggestions about that today, any concerns that you may have about, you know, the youth, the services that are available to them here, or any issues that may be going on in the schools. So that's pretty much my presentation.
Yeah, I just had a question. Is there any cameras? Are there any cameras in the red buses? Hi. Yes. Are there any cameras in the red buses? I have seen a group of youth a couple times just being super rowdy and smoking marijuana or vaping and saying not very nice stuff to everybody in the bus and the drivers, and it just hasn't been the best experience. I'm not gonna report them. I don't want their lives, them to be in the system or whatever. I just wanted to know, like, if they knew that there were cameras, they behave a little differently and act a little more composed and not smoke. And the drivers seem like they don't want to report them either. They're like, oh, I know your mom and all that, but like, I don't know if that really makes anything better. Just wanted to know if there are any cameras, if they can be installed and make people aware that there are cameras to ensure people don't act that way in buses.
I thank you for, this is the kind of things that we need. So I will talk to the Director of Transportation and have their drivers report these things to us immediately. Not only with the cameras, but the drivers do see these same incidents, and so I will have them report this and make sure that PSC is aware of these issues on the buses.
But are there cameras in the bus or no?
In some of them, I'm sure all of them.
If you, like, they're driving, they're focused on driving, not really on the who's on the bus, except if somebody's making trouble. So yes, you can ask them to report them, but yeah, so they're going to describe, like, how do you describe someone that you haven't had a chance to really look at for a few seconds because you're driving. So that's why I'm saying cameras are a little more useful. There's like photographic evidence instead of relying on them to say exactly what happened and what they look like. So
I'll definitely have the Director of
it's not
Transportation.
about, like, reporting them, maybe just counseling them to behave better. I don't know, the ones that don't really do crimes, but some of them are just rowdy teenagers and a little like.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Okay, thank you. Oh, you're going to hold it for me? Oh, even better. Thank you. Hi, Frank Ferrance here. Okay, so just grant me a moment of just presenting it from a resident's perspective, okay? So I need to travel on the island here to run some errands here. I need to run errands in Queens. 59 minutes to the next Q102, okay? We'll go a little while later. There are no buses on the Q102. That's 4 o'clock this afternoon today. Most of the time, the buses do not run. They're way off the published schedule. So then I need to think, well, I need to use my car, okay, to get to places. So let me just make a suggestion on Roosevelt Island here. I know parking is difficult, and I screw up sometimes myself, okay? Yeah, you know. Sorry. But if you had, like you have in Southtown, where you have the marked spots, then I think we get more efficiency than out of the spaces on the island, because there's things where it's like, if my car were 3/4 the size, it would fit there. And I don't really have a big car. So if we had the marked spots, then that would get to more parking efficiency.
I'll definitely bring that back.
And then the last thing is really to the 114 officers. 21st Street is a mess with the bus lane, okay? Because now we get a lot more traffic on Vernon because they're all circumventing it, and it's packed at 1 a.m. I'll show you, I'm sure your officers see that. So whatever we can do to make more traffic, bus lanes only in the morning hours, in the afternoon hours, it really would relieve a lot of congestion. The left turns, that's another story, but immediately, because in other communities, they have periods, 1 a.m. and traffic's backed up on 21st Street. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I will, just to touch on that, that is something that's come up at a lot of our community meetings, and a lot of the members of the community have brought that up to, unfortunately, that's the Department of Transportation, who made those changes to the roadway there with the buses. There's also a lot of construction out there now, that's making it even worse. It's not under our control to change those things, but we can make recommendations, and we will do that to the Department of Transportation, but ultimately they would have to make that decision. What they have told us, in general, when we've gone to these meetings, is that they're doing post-implementation studies to see how that's impacting traffic, whether improving it or,
Hopefully
making
they
it
come
worse.
here at 1 a.m. and see that the traffic's still backed up on 21st Street when it doesn't need to.
Right, no, and I understand your frustration. Like I said, it's not a cop out. But it is ultimately under.
Oh, I know.
them.
I'm just letting you know.
We do a lot of deployment there with our traffic officers, as well as our youth coordination officers are out on 21st July because of the kids coming out of the high schools and other schools in the area. So we do have a lot of presence there, but the traffic pattern is.
And that does affect a lot of Roosevelt Islanders too.
I just wanted to mention just real quick with the kids. If the kids are acting rowdy, and it's non-criminal type of behavior, or maybe violations of law, we're not going to necessarily run into that bus and be arresting kids and giving them a record. But it is a good idea if we're reporting these types of things, that we have interactions with these kids that may be acting improperly, right? If there are violations of law, and all of a sudden we go, just as if I, pulled you over for making an illegal turn, right? I can stop you, we're not going to have a conversation with you. I may not give you a summons, you're not going to get arrested, right? There may just be a conversation and a correction, and it's over. But that would be a great way for our youth officers and our officers to interact with these kids and to make people on the bus feel a little more comfortable. So whether it's the public safety responding, the NYPD responding, those types of quality of life things, we definitely want to know about. Because we don't want people to be fearful when they're on the buses. We don't want them to be uncomfortable. We want them to be able to enjoy the ride, and we want the kids to enjoy the ride too.
Yeah.
Just do it the way they should do it.
Sounds good.
Can you describe a little bit about how the technology for the spotting gunshots works and how it was applied to the recent allegation of gunshots on Roosevelt Island at Manhattan Park and the Octagon?
Yeah, so the gunshot technology it's been around in numerous forms for decades now, and it's gotten better and better. Normally, it works through like a triangulation. That's how some of the systems work, where they detect the sound based on how close it is, how loud it is. They can determine the location. But we have them deployed throughout the precinct, right? And between them, they'll figure out what the location of where it's detected or where the location of the sound comes from. They're not 100%, but they're very good. So if there's something that sounds like a gunshot, we'll respond to that and we'll investigate that. Sometimes those things are fireworks, right? So you get around 4th of July, we get a lot of calls, and it actually winds up being fireworks. Sometimes it's car backfire, right? Those are lesser and less as the technology has gotten better and better. I know if I go back, 15 years into my career when we started putting these in housing developments, just about anything that dropped on the ground set some of these off. They're much better than that now. But just because they go off does not mean that's definitely a gunfire.
And
that
this
has to be investigated.
And this is deployed on Roosevelt Island throughout?
Yes, we have it throughout the city, but throughout the different areas of the precinct.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon. I just want an update in what I reported Saturday afternoon, Chief Brown.
So the report that you made on Saturday is serious in nature. I just had a conversation with the president before I came here, and he will have an update for you as soon as possible. But we had talked about it, and one of the first things that we said that we are going to take corrective measures and action because that incident should have never happened. But he will have a definite, pointed update and a report done as soon as possible.
All right. And then I have one question for the 114. You talk that you sit every Monday with the schools in the precinct, right? And you said that you engage with youth and juvenile in parks and all that. But in my particular case, in fact, the bullies They were never engaged because of their age, even though they have done extreme damage. And it had resulted that I have to pull out my daughter from school, and some other kids from the same grade and same class have left that school because of the violence that is going on in the school. And the worst part is that now we have the problem on sidewalks. And then we have the problem that they are growing up, and it's been 2 years since the problem started. They're growing up, and now we have more of these children that are going now to middle school, that are taunting the buses, doing things that they should not be doing on sidewalks. And I would like to know how we're gonna be able to stop this, because now it's spreading to our sidewalks, to our parks, to our fields, and this problem is growing exponentially, because before, when I make the regional report and I stand here, was 1 child. Now it's 4 children from the same class, from the same school, from the same building. So now the problem, in my opinion, it's growing, and now we have physical violence that is notorious, and now we have an official pediatrician report, like DOE involved, changing of schools, but now we have it on our sidewalks, and it's gonna be worse. So my question is how we're gonna stop it, because NYPD say they're children because of the age, but even though the problem is growing.
Right. So the biggest thing is reporting, right? And that's what we're encouraging with the schools, with the parents, is reporting the incidents. The more times a youth offender is involved in an incident, the more that the prosecutors can do. Now, normally, like I said, depending on their age and depending on the level of offense, a lot of these offenses go to family court. They don't necessarily go to a criminal court, and things are dealt with differently there. Very often they're released to their parents from the precinct, but that's under the nature of the law, that we don't have control over that.
Yes.
That being said, the more times we have reports against a certain offender, right, the better results you're going to get from the courts as far as putting restrictions on them, whether they be curfews or criminal sanctions. But it really comes down to constant reporting, and it's not a one and done moment. It's not one offense by a youthful offender is not going to put them in jail for the rest of their life.
No,
right?
I'm not talking jail.
No, well,
I'm just talking
right,
stopping that
Right, and I
to
get that.
get it
but,
bigger.
The engagement is going to help as well. So the more that we're out on the island, right, engaging with the kids, we're hoping to divert kids that may not have a different outlet, right? We give them different outlets, whether it's our Explorer program, some of our youth programs that we have, we give them a different outlet and hopefully get them out of that bad behavior.
Those are for teenagers, but we're talking 9, 10, 11-year-olds. So,
I mean, we do have programs for them as well, but what type of crimes are 9, 10, and 11-year-olds getting involved in?
physical violence,
Physical fights.
aggression, threats, death threats, a lot of violence, like marks and bruises and black eyes, and really bad.
Do you know if they're all being reported?
I have reported them,
You reported them, okay.
and the school brushed
No, I mean
me off.
to us, the NYPD.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And you guys brushed me off as well.
Well, we'll
Yes.
speak afterwards, 'cause it's-
Yeah.
We have
That should
spoken
be-
before, but yeah,
that should be-
I removed my daughter from this school, but I just don't want
Right.
that the problem gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's getting bigger. Before it was 1, now it's 4.
Right.
Bigger, and it's on our main street. So when they
Well-
find the person or others, the behavior is growing, and we have all reported that, like things happening on the plaza, on top of the cars, the breaking, the stabbing, this and that. So it's growing. We are seeing that in Roosevelt Island, it's growing, and it's the same kids, the same youth, bringing new kids in that are younger, that almost all of them live in the same building. So even though I reported DOE and Public Safety and NYPD, it's growing. So it's not about these particular kids, it's that since we started doing these talks, we have seen a growth in this type of violence from young children, 9, 10, 11, and middle schoolers and also high schoolers.
Okay.
And they're like getting bigger, and it's a bigger group, bigger group, bigger group.
Well, I would ask you, like, if you can, after the meeting, when we start the questions, if you just meet with me and my youth officers,
Yeah.
get as much information as we can see what the schools are doing about it, and that's, a lot of that, especially at that age, is gonna be a lot of working with our partners, with the schools, to make sure that they're taking proper disciplinary action, and that we're reaching out to the parents as well. So when the youth officers, whenever they make an arrest, or they get involved with a youthful, not a youthful offender, a young person offending in any manner, they'll reach out to the parents and they'll try to keep a dialogue and follow up on that kid. So if we know who they are, we can, and then we can work closer with the school to make sure that they're doing what they need to do on their end.
Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to Roosevelt Island. Thank you for coming. I'm glad to hear about the parking tickets. Do we get the money though from? Okay. Chief Inspector, your officers go to school for a year to the police academy. They study everything and then they specialize. I don't know how long our public safety officers are trained, but they need you to teach them communications, confrontation. We have a lot of young, immature officers. I'm sorry they're immature. If they can, they'll be sitting in the booth texting. They don't want to be out. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't have social skills because they've spent their whole life talking to iPhone. It is very sad to see this. We have some great officers. Your bicycle officers are great. Old-time officers are great. These new kids do not know a damn thing. They have no skills. They put their foot in the door at the elevator and tell an old lady she can't get on the tram elevator. Enough. I've worked in the NYPD for elections. I talked to all the officers who were assigned here. They all know how to deal with people. Our young officers have to be taught. Your NYPD, I'm sure your officers have skill sets that they learn at the academy, they learn with mentors. We need your officers and your officers' knowledge to mentor our young officers. If they don't step up and really want to become person-oriented and know how to do things politely and nicely, and not just come up and say, your car is illegally parked, get out of here. And that's what happens. We get insulted by these officers who don't have the skill set. And I want you to train our officers on the importance of customer service. And I call it customer service because it's printed on your car, courtesy, professionalism, and something else. So that is your job, to get the Roosevelt Island Public Safety to learn how to better react and talk to the residents of this island. We love public safety, but we have some real duds there. And we really need them to either step up, learn how to talk to the community, or not be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seemed like a very minor issue after all of this. This is a specifically Roosevelt Island issue. I'm representing the community tennis, not tennis association. There's a lot of problems with the way tennis is administered. I thought I was coming here to ask why are the courts being closed Sunday? I got an email from Inspector Gorman now saying that's how it is. We used to have, they used to be open all the time, pre-COVID. Once COVID, then they've been locked down in the winter. We don't know why that is. We want to know, who do we talk to? We don't have anybody that we go to. In the past, it was very different. So if you just give us who we go to, who do we talk to?
I will definitely take your name, and I'll get the person to get back to you who's in charge of the tennis schools.
Thank you.
Okay.
So earlier today on my way over here, a resident came up to me, and I don't know if this is true or not, I'm just asking if you have any information on it, that there was a tenant who was recently evicted from Manhattan Park for cooking meth. And have you heard anything at all about that?
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I don't have a question. I don't have a question. I have things that I've seen lately, recently, with the motorcycles, those little devils that go around here. They're in the back, they're in the front, they're on the sidewalk yesterday. I almost got hit by one. And on my floor, on the 7th floor of 560, there was a motorcycle. The guy who was delivering it, the food, decided he was bringing his motorcycle upstairs to the 7th floor. What's going on with that?
I would say, when you see these things, please call us.
No one showed up. I did call. No one showed up.
You
The guy's gone.
You
but-
call.
Yes,
You
I always. They have my number on speed dial.
You called and no one showed up.
No one showed up. The guy's gone. He's
I
already
would
made
definitely-
his delivery.
I will definitely look into it, because one of the things, most of the people who do this, they're from delivery stores, and we know who they are. So if you tell us or give us a description of them, then we can still follow up with them. We have some of the people who are notorious, violators, and we've given them a number of summonses. So we will follow up with them.
Well, that's another thing. The bicycle. We had a bicycle community. We had a bicycle. They're gone. I don't know where they went to, but. Yeah. We were going to put signs in areas where they had to walk their bicycle. Yesterday, I was almost mauled over by one of the fishing guys over here by the new building, who decided that he was going to beat me out of the way. I turned around and I said, "This is a walk area. There's a sign over there. This is a walk area." He said, "Oh, so what?" Right? What's going on?
Well-
We need somebody around to keep an eye on things around here.
Okay, we'll definitely take that under advisement.
I know you got a big sign up there that says,
Up again.
no scooters on the promenade, but nobody listens to that.
We give out a number of summonses for the people on the property.
Hi. I'm again gonna complain about the stop signs in the train. Every time I come to one of these meetings, I complain about the stop signs. And after a certain time, people think that the stop signs are merely a suggestion as opposed to actually stopping. They keep driving. I have almost been hit 3 times in the last 2 weeks because people are not stopping. I have suggested putting lights, blinking lights around the stop signs so people can see them, see how we don't have stop lights on this earth. Nothing has changed, and I am fed up with people just driving through stop signs because they can't see them, or it's the daytime and PSD is nowhere to be found after school starts and everyone's in school, so they're not at the walkways and the crossways anymore until later on in the afternoon when school is out. And anything between those hours where school is in session, you can't find a PSD officer. And all you see are people running past the stop signs. Like it's just, oh, you don't have to stop. It's, just go through. If you don't see anybody, just keep driving. The tram is a whole different situation. You get there and you cannot get on the tram. You can't get on the elevator, like she said. And it's ridiculous. The lines are wrapped around the corner. And as a resident, I want to come home, but I have to wait for the tourists to come while I'm waiting. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Like she said, they treat the residents and But the tourists come and it's like, yes, how may we help you? What do you need? Where are you going? How may we help you? I'm sick of it. Every time I come to this meeting, it's the same thing. And it hasn't yielded any results. Let's fix it.
Thank you.
We have no further questions.
I have one more. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got here late, so I don't know if we already talked about this. I live in 580 across the street, and they're replacing our building doors with a mobile pass to enter. And I asked our property manager, you know, what happens if my phone dies or I lose my phone. And he said that public safety will be responsible for letting us in. Is that true?
I didn't hear your question.
I live in 580
Hold on one second,
Main
let us
Street.
talk. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I live in 580 Main Street, and the building doors to get in are being replaced. Like, there's no more keys, no more physical keys anymore as of Monday. And the property manager has told us that they're replacing it with a mobile app that uses a Bluetooth technology to get it. So I had asked him, what happens if my phone dies or I lose my phone? How do I get into the building? And he emailed me back saying public safety would be responsible for getting us in. Is that true?
But if you came to public safety and you need to be let in, we will let you in.
It's a key fob.
We don't, they won't give us a key fob.
But if you came to public safety and you lived in the building and you showed us proper ID, we'll let you in the building.
But what happens if I lock myself out? Like, so my point is that, is it gonna be an immediate thing? Like if I go in, they'll walk with me right away? Will there be a wait to access my own apartment? Like that's kind of like the mechanics or what I want to understand.
We will have to talk to the building management and try to figure out a system. Any situation, you know, if you walked in there and there was an emergency going on, you may have to wait. If you walked in there and there was an officer standing there that can help you right this second, he would help you.
Chief, can I just say
One, the last one. Is it true that someone stole $5,000 in cash from PSIS 217?
I didn't hear that. No one reported that to us.
Okay.
Maybe just one. Can you describe, there was a certain point in time where we were told there was a point in time earlier this year where we were told that there was a policy for seniors, disabled, and parents with strollers to be able to access the elevator without waiting on the long line. Is that still the case, or is that no longer the case?
That was not a policy. I think someone told that to you.
A director.
We said that we would make all provisions for seniors, the elderly, and the children going to school. Because there was a question that with the F train being down, how would our children get to school on time? And those were the people who we said that we would make the provisions for.
So as of now, is there any policy that?
We've always made those provisions for seniors and disabled, and we will also do that for the children that have to be on time for school.
And what about parents with strollers?
There was no specific ask for parents with strollers, and you know, the officers have the ability to use their discretion, and if someone needs to go up on the elevator or get through the line, they use their discretion.
Last question.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious, what's the latest on when the F train might be back in service on a normal basis?
I have to direct you to the MTA.
Fabulous.
This weekend, we had some board member wannabes, I guess, that were collecting signatures, and they were told not to be out here in this area collecting signatures Why is that?
That's not true. That's not what happened. I'm gonna tell you what happened. The farmer's market is permitted by the PTA. And the PTA decided that they do not want any political, any religious, any pamphlet inside the farmer's market. It's a permanent event, and they have the right to decide who can go in and who can go out. And we, as PSD, we were told that you can do the, whatever they wanted to do on the outside of the farmer's market.
They were not in the market.
And they,
outside in the street.
I think when you got there, that's where they were at.
That's where I gave them my signature.
Well, and that's where you were allowed to give them the signature.
Politicians that come here and do that all the time.
All
the time.
All right, I'm telling you what the farmer's market and the PTA asked of us is that, and that's a permanent event. That's like if you had a private party and we decided to come.
That analogy was used on the video.
And because it's correct.
That's baloney.
Why is that baloney?
Because that is a public place.
It's a permanent event.
And it's a permanent event over here, not over there.
And that's where you could collect the signatures. Outside of the event.
Collecting the signatures. They were out there in front of the church.
And that's where they said that you can collect them.
That's where they were doing it. They
Not
weren't doing it.
not in the
part of
beginning.
market. They were, yes, they were, right? That's where I gave them my signature. I just want to know, is it illegal now to collect
It's never been
signatures?
illegal.
Okay, just want to know.
So I think they acknowledged being wrong when they were taking signatures within the market itself.
Did you hear what he just said? They acknowledged that they were wrong for going inside the farmer's market.
Yes, but they then tried to do it on the sidewalk, where Inspector Coleman seemed to suggest they,
Permitted on the side.
Yes, they were permitted on the sidewalk.
after
You
discussion.
just can't do it in a permanent event. And the PTA has always always been consistent with never showing any kind of, they don't want to show any favoritism to any specific group, politician, religion. So they've always been their way of operating, where they don't want, they've done it in the past where a religious group is asked to set up a booth inside, and they said, we don't want to say hey or yay or nay to that. We want to be totally neutral. So if you permit an event, if you get a permit in RIOC, you have the right to decide who gets to enter into that area. And they admitted that they shouldn't have been into that area, like you said.
And then they came outside.
But the sidewalk is okay.
Yeah.
A lot of the stories are word of mouth that go around, and not always the facts are presented. So the facts were that they were in a place that they shouldn't have been. They were asked to move to the place that they should be, and that's what transpired.
That will apply as well with the Girl Scouts giving their information when they're selling cookies, or could we have like a line where the girls cannot cross, because there's a lot of Girl Scouts in this island, and this island loves the cookies. Just asking, really.
It's up to the PTA.
Okay, can we have a,
100%.
my real question, so that nobody gets in trouble, when now the market is gonna be under the helix.
Yes, it's gonna be under the
Like,
helix.
what are the limits? So, because we start in February, so I can start telling the girls that they cannot cross certain areas.
They'll have the outline for where the farmer's market begins and ends.
Who? The
The
PTA?
PTA.
And besides the PTA, can,
The PTA draws up the lines
okay, public
for
safety,
their permanent event.
yes.
They applied for it.
No, I'm not saying the contrary. I'm just asking if by any chance RIOC has the lines of where it starts and where it ends, so I can tell my girls, my whole troop, don't cross this line or don't go farther this way because you cannot be there. It's in good faith, my question, because I'm gonna deal with 10 and 11-year-olds, so I want to pass the correct message to them.
We'll have the lines all set up.
Thank you.
When they-
I will contact them in your office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.